Open meeting law allows executive sessions, but strictly limits the circumstances under which an executive session is permissible and requires proper notice on the agenda. For all public agencies except two, the only permitted purposes are: 1, to consider hiring a specific person, but not to discuss general staffing or budgetary needs; 2, to consider personnel evaluation, dismissal, or discipline; 3, to deliberate concerning labor negotiations or purchase of real property; 4, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure; 5, to consider preliminary negotiations in matters of trade or commerce in which you are competing with governing bodies in other states or countries; and 6, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated. And the mere presence of legal counsel at the executive session does not satisfy this requirement. Any other executive session is prohibited. Additionally, Idaho Code Section 67-2345, subsection 3, states that the exceptions to the general policy of open meetings shall be narrowly construed. That same section makes it a violation of the open meeting law to change the subject within the executive session to one not identified within the motion to enter the executive session, or to any topic for which an executive session is not provided. And incidentally, on more than one occasion in executive session, I've had the obligation to inform prestigious boards that they're wandering beyond the scope of the motion. And that doesn't always make them very happy. But it is an obligation that we have, and the open meeting law has to operate in that way. The two agencies with additional authorization for closed meetings are the Parole Commission and the Sexual Offender Classification Board. These are very limited authorizations, and they're spelled out in the respective statutes applying to those boards. So with that, I think, Betsy, you're up again.
As a reporter, nothing arouses my curiosity more than something that's closed or secret. Naturally, that makes me want to find out about it more. But I have to admit I was quite embarrassed the one time that I walked by mistake into a legally closed executive session of the Idaho State Land Board. Didn't realize I'd done that. They were meeting all day long. And I just thought the meeting was still going on in open session. Went in, sat down, got out my notebook and my pen and looked at them, and Governor Batt was just glaring at me. And I thought, uh-oh, what's wrong? And he said, "Madam, we're in executive session." And I said, "Oh," put away my notebook, grabbed my stuff, and left. I knew that if they were going to make a decision, I could find out what it was, because they can't make any decisions in their executive session. I'm not allowed to be in there, but they have to open the doors and bring me back in if they're going to make a decision, and that's when I find out what they're doing. Didn't mean to do that. Our next scene, scene 2, is called "The Law Has Teeth." And so now I would like to invite up our next set of actors, and they include portraying the waiter, Bill Thompson, Latah County Prosecutor; portraying Lucky the reporter, Walter Steed, a familiar character, Moscow City Councilman; and portraying County Commission Chairman Craig, Randy Fife, Moscow City Attorney; portraying County Commissioner Ed, Kenton Bird, Director of the Department of Journalism and Mass Media at the University of Idaho and former Managing Editor of the Daily News; and portraying the 3rd County Commissioner, Kelsey Mosley, Slice of Life Editor and Copy Editor at the Moscow Pullman Daily News. So let's have our commissioners take a seat over there. That scene you see there is in a local cafe, and they are sitting at the table, and our reporter is sitting at an adjoining. In this scene, we meet Lucky the reporter. There he is, right there. Lucky just started working for the Daily Splash last week, and this is his lucky day. He stopped in the local cafe for a bite of breakfast, and he gets seated next to the 3 county commissioners, unaware that Lucky is a reporter, because he's new. They didn't recognize him. They are busy handling the county's business. Here comes the waiter.
Actually, my script says waitress. That would be a Republican conspiracy. But, so, play along. Hi, sweetie. What do you have today? The usual?
Let me have that, a couple of eggs, some crisp bacon, maybe some OJ, and a skim milk.
Coming right up, honey.
It's not my script.
So we'll pave County Line Road to Maple before the first frost. You two okay with that?
I can go along with that if we can take it another half mile past Maple. That'll get some nice pavement in front of my brother-in-law's place.
I don't know, Ed, the budget's pretty tight. I really think we need to stop it.
Come on, Craig, work with me on this. I think I can help with the zoning problem on the nuclear power plant around by the wildlife sanctuary. In fact, nobody needs to know that your dad is behind that.
Look, fellas, I'm fine with paving County Line Road, and it really doesn't matter to me if we stop at Maple or go all the way to Canada, for all I care. But I don't want us to get in the middle of this power plant issue. We need to stay out of it and let the Planning and Zoning Commission do its job. What I am interested, though, is getting that is what we're going to do about that county prosecutor. I think he's getting a little big for his britches. We could say we have to make the cut to cover County Line down to Elm. How about that?
Okay, good. So where are we going to build that jail? Is Raylene willing to sell? How much does she want?
Hold it. I'm blowing the whistle. Illegal procedure, 5-yard penalty. Thank you very much. Well done. Illegal for a quorum of county commissioners to ride in the same car to go across town to attend a funeral. But if a governing body does meet outside a posted public meeting and conducts business, they can each face a civil penalty. I've given this presentation a number of times in the last few days. They can each face a civil penalty of $50, which they'll have to pay out of their own pocket. If it's a second violation within 12 months, the civil penalty is $500. And if it can be proven that they knowingly violated the open meeting law, the penalty is $500, whether it is the first violation or not. Additionally, any action taken at a meeting held in violation of the open meeting law is void. Last year, the legislature amended the open meeting law to increase the penalties that I just described. In addition, the law now includes a process by which a governing body can cure a violation. Brian Kane's going to be discussing a little more about that, but from my own personal experience, and this is actually before the law came into effect, I sit on the land board with the governor, the secretary of state, the superintendent of public instruction, and the state controller. Occasionally, we move that meeting out of, the center of Boise, and we go out into some other location. We happened to go to Coeur d'Alene about a year ago, and as I walked into that meeting place, I noticed the notice posted on the door, and I thought to myself, I wonder if this meeting had been properly posted, since we're not really in our normal routine. So I asked the staff, and this actually is on the record, I asked, has this meeting been properly noticed? And the response to me was, yes, this meeting has been properly noticed. Okay, great. So we then held our meeting. Unfortunately, the next day, I was in my office in Boise, and I received a telephone call. And the answer was, well, we looked at it and we really didn't comply with the notice posting provisions. And as a consequence, I now, as the Attorney General, have participated in an illegal meeting. And this is a problem. So I had a pretty good idea what we were going to do, but I did the proper thing, and I called Brian. And I said, Brian, what are we going to do? And he said, well, we need to redo the meeting. And I said, that's right, we need to redo the meeting. So as the land board, we had to then send out a notice that that meeting had occurred without proper posting. It was an illegal meeting, and we had to reschedule that meeting and reconduct that entire meeting so that the actions that had been taken were done properly. Now, I'll steal one of Brian's line in that whole process. There was, how many of you remember that or saw any reported on it? Okay. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that was written about it. Betsy wrote about it in her blog, but there wasn't a lot of hubbub about that because of the fact that we acknowledged our mistake, we took ownership, we fixed it. And I'll let Brian kind of delve into that a little bit more. Now, we had a kind of fun with our scene, particularly like the wait person. It was a well done job. I'm thinking Academy Award on that one. But as much fun as we had with that, unfortunately, that's not entirely made up. There's a case in Idaho in which a school board got caught at a restaurant doing that very thing. And I have some advice to public officials in that regard, and that is simply, don't do it. Right now, you're trusted to respect the public's right to watch you work. If you are going on a day trip for team building, that's great, that's wonderful, that's a very healthy kind of thing, but don't slip up. Now, we did have a little bit of fun with this scene, and but much of the business done there would have been illegal, even if it had been held in a properly noticed meeting. So with that, I think we're to Betsy, Brian? Betsy, I'm sorry.